All right, guys, here's a video that explains why the exponential growth formula works and really what's happening when we apply this formula. Okay, let's say, for example, you have $100 that you put in the bank. And your bank says to you, every year, at the end of the year, we're going to increase that. We're going to basically increase that by 5%. So as long as you don't take anything out from there, at the end of the year, we're going to increase that by 5%. So you say to yourself, okay, well, I'd like to know that if I don't do anything to this, how much money am I going to have in there after 5 years? Okay, so the shortcut is we're going to use this formula and it's going to spit a number out at us. Okay, well, let's see how that works. Let's say we did this year by year. Okay, so let's say for year one. Okay, so at year 0, when we first put the money in, we got $100. Okay, so after the first year, we're going to take our $100, and this is how growth works just in general. Okay, we're going to increase that by 5%. Okay, so we're going to multiply 100 times 5% or by 0.05. And that's going to give us $5. Okay, so we're going to get $5 off of our 100. So then we have to add that back to our 100. And that gives us $105. Okay, well, a quicker way to do that and a better way to do this part of it is to say, okay, we start out with $100 and we're going to multiply that by 105% because 100% of $100 is $100. Well, 105%, so we're going to multiply that by 1.05. And if you plug this into your calculator, do 100 times 1.05, you're going to get 105, just like we got when we added it back to our original amount. And those of you that had my foundational last year when we did taxes and tips, you guys should remember how this works. Okay, so after year 1, we've got $105. Okay, so now let's bring our old calculator in here. Okay, so after the first year, we've got $105. Well, I've got $105 in there, and we're going to do 5% of that. So now I've got 105 times 1.05. And if you can punch this into your calculator, you should get 110.25. So then we're going to multiply this by 1.05, and we get 110.25. Okay, so after year 2, my $100 has now grown into $10.25. See how it's not increasing by $5 every year because that interest gets applied to the 105 the second year. And now this year, the 5% is going to get applied to the 110. So we're going to multiply that by 1.05. So let's plug that into our calculator. 1.05 equals 115.7625. 115.7625. See how the amount, it's increasing by a little bit more each year? That's what we mean by exponential growth. So like this first year, it increased by $5. This year, it increased by $5.25. This year, it increased by $5.51. See how the increased amount keeps growing? Okay, so if we were to graph this, we're going to see that it's going to gradually increase for every change of year. So now let's do year 4 times 1.05. We get 121.55.0625. Don't worry about these last numbers here. This is really just a show. And then times 1.05, 127.628, blah, 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 1563. Okay, so this is just having to redo this every year. Well, God, it seems like a lot of work. Like on number 4, we had to do to the 19th power. Imagine doing this calculation 19 times. Okay, that's a lot. Instead of doing that, let's just plug in our numbers here into the formula and see if we get the same answer. Okay, spoiler alert, we're going to get the same answer. All right, so A equals 100 times 1.05 raised to the 5th power, t equals 5. So after 5 years, okay, so every banker in the world that does loans and understands banking, this is the equation that they know, okay? And they know a more complicated version of it, but they know how to do this. All right, so 100 times quantity 1.05 raised to the 5th power 127.628. Oh, that was terrible. Sorry. 0.6281563. I got the same number, heck of a lot faster than doing this calculation 5 times. That is how exponential growth works.